So, I hope you remember we are still talking about no one knew the burden. So the last time we chatted, Joanne did not know how she'd reach Mombasa. But let's put Joanne aside for a few minutes. Let us go to somebody else who matters in this story. Dr. Margaret Shai, a medical doctor, was a beautiful young single woman who had always been known to have a calling to help young people live better lives, considering that she herself came from a challenged background. Coming from a less privileged background, she had struggled to make her way up. While growing up, she saw her parents who were barely able to provide for her and her 6 siblings, but they ensured that all of them got education, at least the basic. She was raised up in Mukuru informal settlement, where they lived from hand to mouth. Clean water was very hard to come by, let alone electricity. So she maximized her days reading during the day so that when night came, she could sleep and do other duties. One evening, as she was on her way from school, she was in class 4 then, she passed by a piece of an old newspaper lying on her path. On it was a picture of a famous person, Professor Wangui Maathai. She had heard her teacher mention that name in class. She picked up the piece of paper and went home with it. The next day, she took it to class and excitedly showed the classmates. "People, I saw her!" She shouted to the class. "Who did you see?" they chorused. Before they could get the answer. The social studies teacher walked in and asked why the class was shouting. When she learned that Margaret was the cause, she told her to go straight to the staff room and wait for her. So later she came back and asked her, "Why were you making noise in class, young girl?" "I'm sorry, teacher. I was showing the class the picture of my icon, Professor Wangui Maathai." "What? Where did you get the picture?" the teacher asked curiously. Tears were balancing in her eyes. "The teacher is crying?" wondered Margaret. "Well, I picked a piece of paper which someone had dropped on the path when I was going home yesterday." The teacher wiped her eyes and told Margaret to go back to class. Margaret was shocked at the teacher's reaction. When she reached class, the classmates wanted to know how things had gone. She explained what had happened. The class was left wondering why the teacher would want to cry. The next social studies lesson, the teacher told the pupils to research on the personalities who inspired them. Margaret picked on Wangui Maathai, the professor. They were given a week to make their presentations. On that day, the pupils did a great job. Immediately they finished presenting, the teacher walked out in haste. "Can we welcome the visitor to our class?" The class went into an applause and screams as Professor Wangui Maathai walked into class. She addressed the class, which was teeming with excitement. The teacher then shared that it was the professor who had picked her up from the very disadvantaged background she came from and educated her till she became a teacher. The class was awed by the revelation. From then on, Margaret decided that she wanted to be like the professor. One prize-giving day, when she was in class 6, Margaret was appointed to present a poem. The area member of parliament, Honorable Charles Superhero, was the chief guest. He was so impressed by her presentation that he inquired about her. On finding out about her background, he decided he would sponsor her till class 8. Margaret did not fail him. She scored 430 marks out of the possible 500 at her Kenya Certificate of Primary Education, KCPE. She earned herself a placement at Blue Shine National School. The Mirror Bank gave her a sponsorship for her secondary education. Her determination did not wane. By Form 3, she became the school captain. Her focus was admired by all the students. 5 months to Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, KCSE, the president of Eritrea visited the school. She gave a speech on behalf of the students. That is Margaret. He was so impressed. He kept whispering something to the principal who was seated beside him. 3 days later, Margaret was called out of class. So, 3 days later, Margaret was called out of class. The principal wanted to visit her home. Why would the principal want to visit my home, she wondered. Anyway, when they reached Margaret's home, they found her father and mother, who were shocked to see a delegation led by the principal and 2 teachers and Margaret coming to the house during a school day. So Mama and Baba Margaret, do forgive us for coming without notice. We have some news for you. Margaret and her parents held their breath. Your daughter Margaret really impressed our guest of honor during the function, the prize giving day. So he inquired about her, and when we gave him some details on her background, he decided to do something for your family. I hope that is fine with you. He told us to come and deliver that message in person. That's why we are here. He has decided to buy your family a plot and a house. He wants you to be comfortable so that Margaret can go to school without any interruption. In addition, it is a reward for her hard work, because since Margaret took over as the school captain, she has reformed the school. She has helped maintain school discipline. After the initial shock wore off, the ululations from Margaret's mother were unending. The principal then explained the whole process and what it would be required. Eventually, the entourage left the school. The next day, Margaret dedicated her lunchtime to go to a quiet place where she could get time to thank God and commit her future to Him. She wrote the experience in her journal. She could not help testifying and encouraging other students to focus on their studies because God always cares for them. She studied hard and sat for her national examination. As is the routine, students always clear when they are given certain forms. So Margaret finished her clearance. When she went to hand in her clearance form to the deputy principal, she met her father seated in his office. In her office. Margaret always went home alone, but this day her father was there. She looked at his face. He did not betray any message. He just assured her that things were all right. So they went to the bus stage and took a vehicle to Rongai Township. She had known her father long enough to decide when to ask questions, and this day was not one of that kind. "Where is this, Dad?" she asked when they reached their destination. "It's our new home, courtesy of you," he responded with a wide smile. "What? This is a palace," she exclaimed. "Welcome home." The door flew open as her mother and siblings came out to welcome her home. The celebrations reached heaven that day. As Margaret waited for her examination results, she busied herself with shamba work, in between reading novels and helping with the house chores. One morning, as she was in the garden, she could see a vehicle approaching from afar because their house was on a hilly place. Let's catch up next time for the continuation. Bye.